Welcome everybody to day 5 on our series of doing the will of the Father, and excited to move forward. Yesterday I told you that we would talk today a little bit about meekness. So starting off, meekness is not a behavior. It's Christ's character. It's a spiritual gift that possesses us, and it begins with our relationship with the Father and the Son. So a question that I think that we need to consider in relationship to the character or spiritual gift of meekness, and that is this. Have you thought how often you talk to the Father? I mean, really talk to Him. Or maybe more importantly, the other question that I think I would ask about is how often the Savior talked to His Father. You know, the Savior really cared about His relationship with His Father. And while in mortality, He continually nurtured that relationship with our Father in heaven. And I suppose that you and I, if we are going to come to know the will of the Father, we need to first know our Father in heaven Himself, right? Really know Him, right? If we're going to be successful at obeying the will of the Father, at yielding to it and honoring it, we ought to spend time with Him, coming to know Him. And I believe that this will give us purpose and the desire to know and do our Father's will. So, I want to share a thought with you. In the lectures on faith, it states that in order to exercise faith in God unto life and salvation, 3 things are required. 1, we must first accept the idea that God exists, right? Second, we need a correct understanding of His nature and attributes and the character of God. And third, we need to know, or at least have a sure knowledge, that the path we are pursuing in life is in accordance to God's holy mind and will. And there it is again, right? And talking about faith, and faith is a principle of power and action, right? And the attributes and character of the Father and our elder brother, Jesus Christ, literally, I don't know, for the last 15 or 20 years has been on my mind a lot, literally. And in many instances in my study of the scriptures, it always seems to come back to the character of meekness. And so I've had to ask myself, why is meekness in the character of Christ first, right? Why is it first? So remember, the lectures on faith, it says that we cannot exercise faith in Him unless we have a correct understanding of His nature and attributes and character. And it seems to me, at least it seems to me, that Christ puts a pretty high priority on His character, the character of meekness. So let's think. Okay, let's think through this just a little bit together so we can get an idea of why I'm talking about this, because literally His character then leads to knowing that you're doing the will, right? So that you have faith in that power, that it gives you power, right? So let's think. Humility, what is it, right? How do we define it? Humility is a sincere dependence on God and acknowledging that dependence, right? So, for an example, in the same way that consecration, the law of consecration, right, is a capstone and encompasses the law of sacrifice, right? It's a higher law. Meekness is a capstone that encompasses humility. Well, what do I mean that? What do I mean by that? An example: it's possible to be humble, meaning that you recognize your dependence on God, and but not be very far along on the path of meekness. Right? Meekness is strength. Meekness sometimes is silence. Meekness, and these are behaviors, but it's not a behavior. It's who you are really deep inside. But the reality is that you can. It's possibly humble, but not be far along the path of meekness. But if one is meek, then you must be humble, because it encircles meekness. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about this in regards to the Savior, and we're going to start to do a little bit about that tomorrow because I think it's so important in relationship to this idea of doing the will of the Father. So tomorrow we're gonna take some time to look at an example of the Son in this regard. Okay, day 5 in the books. Appreciate you being here. Like and subscribe. Hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.